yesterday we were talking in our preview about we were officially on Michael Penix's watch. We're officially on, hey, there's a real shot that Michael Penix comes into this game and plays for the Falcons if Kirk Cousins looks the way he did, his inability to move around in the pocket the way he played against the Steelers. He comes out on Monday Night Football, a place where, primetime Kirk Cousins hasn't always been the best. Kirk Cousins comes out Monday Night Football and looks awesome. He's able to move around the pocket. They're doing play action. They're carving up that Eagles defense with Bijan Robinson. I would like to see him, get to his bigger receivers more often, but I was very impressed by Kirk Cousins. I was very, very impressed by his mobility. That's the thing I was looking for the most. Is he able to move around the pocket? There were times where he was executing that play action, where he was scrambling even for a couple of yards. There was a sack early on in the game where they went for his legs. I got scared. He came back up. After that, there was nothing. He looked comfortable. And if that's the Kirk Cousins we're going to get out of the Falcons, the hype that the Falcons had at the beginning of the season, the hype that the Falcons had after signing Kirk Cousins, after trading for Matthew Judon, after signing Justin Simmons, after everything they did this offseason, getting their new head coach, it's real. You can see it. Really, that entire NFC South is leagues better than at least I was expecting. The Falcons are going to have a dogfight on their hands. We talked about the Saints yesterday. We talked about if they're for real or not. That's going to be a tough division for anybody to win. The Saints, the Bucks, the Falcons now, if they're able to keep playing like this, both of these teams are good. The battle of the birds here. Both of these teams are good. The Eagles and the Falcons both have real playoff chances. And in a murky NFC, there is a shot. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but in a murky NFC, there's a shot that these are two of the better teams in all of the NFC. The 49ers just lost this week to the Vikings. I think both of these teams are better than the Vikings. I know the Vikings always play the 49ers tough, but that being said, these are two very good teams, and I don't want to put too much on the Eagles here. I don't want to put too much on Nick Sirianni. What I do want to focus on is, yet again, prevent defense. My God, I don't understand why it's a thing. Now, I understand you run it against a Hail Mary. Sure, run it against a Hail Mary. Run it against a one-play drive with, 3 seconds left in the game and they're 70 yards away from the end zone. But on a 2-minute drill, why in the world would you ever run prevent defense? Every time a team goes into prevent defense, the goal of prevent defense is to stop an end zone shot. That's it. It's the only thing prevent defense is for. It's not there to stop those 30-yard balls. It's not there to stop those 15 to 20-yard intermediate routes. It's not there to stop the short routes. It's there to stop the 50-yard bombs. And if you're running a 2-minute drill, right, you should never have a 50-yard bomb be your first option. You should be looking for those 20, 30-yard plays. You should be looking for those quick outs to get you out of bounds, and that's exactly what the Falcons did. They saw the Eagles go into prevent defense, and they said, thank you, I will take my 30 yards at a time, thank you very much. And then they marched right down the field in the most efficient drive they've had all season. All game, the Eagles were shutting down that passing attack. They weren't getting much done in the air outside of that one big play, and then they go into prevent. And that's where they really lost this game. I think prevent defense should go extinct in the NFL. I think prevent defense should literally only be an anti-Hail Mary call. It's the only time it makes sense to run a prevent defense set. With 2 minutes left, you should not be going into prevent. It's just a bad defensive strategy, and that's where the Eagles lost this game. They should have won this game by Saquon Barkley catching the ball and getting a first down. They should have won this game by stopping them on defense. Heck, they probably should have won this game by Jalen Hurts not forcing a ball into double coverage. He had an open wide receiver that would have gotten them into field goal range. The Eagles had many opportunities to win this game. They should have won this game. They didn't. It's not on Nick Sirianni. It's not on that play call. It's not on Saquon either. They just, I'm blaming the defense and Vic Fangio, really. I don't understand why people still think prevent is ever a good idea. And that's where I think this game was lost. The Eagles played a good game of defensively, offensively, and you can criticize some of those fourth down decisions. I know there's a couple of them that I would have gone the other way, either going for it or kicking a field goal. But at the end of the day, that's what the Eagles are built on. You're going to take the good with the bad. You're going to take those tough fourth down calls because that's just part of the game. That's just how they do it. You wouldn't tell the Lions to stop, going for it on fourth down because that's just what they do. That's just part of their DNA. It's the same thing with the Eagles. That's what they're built on. That's how they succeed. You have to let them do it. You're going to take the good with the bad, and you can't overreact to it. The Falcons are a good team. The Eagles are a good team. This is not one of those games where you look at it and you say, oh, these teams are done. Their seasons are over. Both of these teams played great. I think the Falcons got exactly what they needed on Monday Night Football, and I think this is a good wake-up call for the Eagles. You have to play hard. You can't go into prevent. I hope this is a wake-up call for the league, because whenever I see prevent, my blood boils a little bit. I don't understand why anyone still thinks it's a good strategy. But regardless of that, let me know what you thought of Monday Night Football. It was an awesome game. Those are the kind of games we want to see on Monday Night Football more often. I'd love to hear your thoughts. We're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, we are going to get into our rankings. It's officially Rankings Tuesday, Sports by GSMC Podcast weekly holiday here. We're going to take a look at the NFL Power Rankings, spots 32 to 17, coming up next here on Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. Welcome back to the Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Tuesday, September 17th. If you are just tuning in, we just finished going over the Monday Night Football blown loss by the Eagles, blown lead. They should have won that game in a multitude of different ways. Unfortunately, they did not. In this segment, though, we are going to get into our NFL Power Rankings. Every Tuesday, we're going to do our rankings. Today, in this segment, we are going to get through spots 32 to 17. But before we do, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you are on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go ahead and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Tuesday, September 17th. But like I was saying, we are going to get into a little bit of the NFL Power Rankings. And at 32, yet again, sits the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers have had an interesting week. Seems like David Tepper's getting his hands on things again, saying, again, nothing's confirmed. I assume he said, bench Bryce Young. We need to win games. We need to get butts in seats. Carolina Panthers are sitting here at number 32. They're just a mess of a team. They might have the worst defense Their offense isn't much better. Andy Dalton gives them a better shot to win, but they are on 0-17 watch for real. So keep an eye on that. The Carolina Panthers sit at 32 yet again. Wrong direction there. At number 31 sits the New York Football Giants. The New York Giants just put up what I would say was a very solid game against a bad Washington Commanders team, a bad Washington Commanders defense. We got to see Malik Neighbors go off over 100 yards, his first career NFL touchdown. He had a great game. Exactly what you want to see out of the rookie. That defense could not stop the Commanders. An offense that is not going to be one of the more potent ones in the league. They could not stop the run. They were very good once they got down to the goal. Once they got into the red zone, 0 for 6 for the Commanders in the red zone, but you can't let them get 6 attempts at the red zone. You're not going to win many games like that. Good job forcing field goals, though. The Giants sit at 31 after a much improved week from last week. At number 30, the Denver Broncos and Bo Nix. Bo Nix has looked awful. Bo Nix has looked like maybe the worst quarterback in all of football. Definitely battling for that title right now. The Broncos offense has looked abysmal. Now, I know they've played some tough defenses. The Seahawks aren't the easiest team to go up against. Neither is the Steelers, with TJ Watt coming off of the end. But I need Bo Nix to be able to throw the ball further than 5 yards down the field. I need him to be able to do that. If he's still unable to do that, there needs to be serious conversations about him not starting anymore. At 29 sit the Tennessee Titans. And the Titans are sitting here solely because of the man center of that picture, Will Levis. It's now been 2 straight weeks where he's done something boneheaded, something idiotic, something that I cannot explain why he did it. Week 1 was that shovel pass that turned into a pick 6, doing the surrender cobra on the ground. Week 2 against the Jets goes airborne, all 4 limbs off the ground, dives forward, and shovels a ball backwards. Throws a fumble to Tyjae Spears, who's not there to catch the ball, turns it over in the red zone. He needs to stop making those mistakes because this Titans defense is for real. This is a good Titans defense, and if he can just play clean football, if he can just not turn the ball over, the Titans probably are 2-0 right now, to be completely honest with you. Titans sit at 29. At number 28, the Washington Commanders. They get their first win. Jaden Daniels gets his first win of the season. Washington just doesn't look good. Again, 0 for 6 in the red zone. Their defense could not stop the Giants. That defense is awful, especially in the cornerback and secondary room. It's not it. You lose Emmanuel Forbes, and if he's one of your best guys, that's not going to carry you. Daniel Jones always looks good against the Commanders, so maybe we take it a little bit easy on them, but they get their win. Congratulations to Jaden Daniels on his first NFL win. Now let's see if Cliff Kingsbury can dial something up that isn't a screen pass. At 27, the New England Patriots. And the Patriots started this year all the way down at 32. They've continued to climb. Even with a loss to the Seahawks, they take them to overtime. Their defense is looking a little scary. It's not going to just be easy to go up and down the field against this team. Like I was talking about with the Titans, Jacoby Brissett has not made a mistake. Plain and simple. Jacoby Brissett has not made those turnover-worthy plays like Will Levis has been doing. I think the Titans and the Patriots are very similar teams. I think the Titans are a little more talented, but you see what the difference is between a team that has a quarterback that, while they're not going to make these awesome plays, they're not going to turn the ball over 3 times a game in the Patriots. Or Will Levis, that while you get that ability to make the big plays, you're also going to turn the ball over 3 times a game. And you see where they're both sitting. One is 0-2, one is 1-1. I like the Patriots situation better than the Titans. They're here at 27. At 26, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence said it best after the game. Quote, "We just suck right now." Right? After a tight matchup with the Miami Dolphins, which I thought their defense played really well in, their defense again plays pretty good football against the Browns. Now, the Browns offense isn't anything to lord over, shutting them down. But Trevor Lawrence doesn't trust the pocket. He bails out way too quickly. He's not comfortable behind that offensive line. And can you really blame him? The beating that he's taken? You lose Tank Bigsby, who was in committee with Travis Etienne, had a big week in week 1. This Jacksonville defense has a chance, but if Trevor Lawrence isn't comfortable in the pocket there, they're not going to be able to get a lot done. The Jacksonville Jaguars sit at 26 for me. At 25 is those Cleveland Browns. They sneak up a couple of spots. They were just sitting there just above the Jaguars, who fall 8 spots. They're actually our biggest fallers of the week. From last week, they fall 8, but the Cleveland Browns stay put at 25. The Cleveland Browns are a team that is just kind of fundamentally flawed, right? You don't have a quarterback. You have a great defense. You have one of the best, if not the best, defensive players in the league in Myles Garrett, and that defense is going to do its thing. But as long as Deshaun Watson is back there, as long as you can't get anything done on defense, this is not a playoff caliber team. And really, that offense is near bottom in the entire league. At 24, the Chicago Bears. Hear what I just said about the Cleveland Browns? Everything I just said can be applicable for the Chicago Bears. That defense is awesome. They just shut down one of the best offenses in all of football in the Texans offense. Now they sit here. Caleb Williams and the offense have less yards than they do punt yards. Not the situation that they really want to be in. It's not a good spot to be in for any of the 3 teams that are there, consisting of the Panthers, the Bears, and the Broncos. All of these guys that are sitting near the bottom of the league. That defense, though, for the Bears is keeping them in it. If they had a competent offense, they would be 2-0 right now. Instead, they're just 1-1, and they're going to be a team that beats bad teams and loses to good ones. Their schedule isn't good enough for them to make the playoffs that way, though. Caleb Williams needs to step it up. That offensive line really needs to step it up. We'll see if the Bears can fix their offense moving forward. At 23, the Seattle Seahawks. Geno Smith did not miss a throw. 100% accurate. That's not 100% completion rating, but accuracy on his throws, 100%. First time since 2021 that anyone has done that. The Seahawks escape the Patriots with an overtime win, 23-20. That Seahawks defense is good. That offense needs a little bit of work. Geno Smith is doing his thing. That offensive line needs to be better. They give up 2 safeties in week 1, and they let up a lot of pressure in week 2 on Geno Smith. Excuse me. That being said, I still think this is a team that could climb. They fall 7 spots, though. At 22, the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers, I have dropping a couple of spots because I thought there were some very impressive teams. They dropped 3 spots down to 22 from 19 where they were last week. That's not to say they played bad. I was very impressed with their defense. Justin Fields needs to play better. He looks like the starter, 2-0. A great spot to be for the Steelers. That defense is amazing. TJ Watt, early favorite for Defensive Player of the Year, the way he's just wrecking games. But they've gone up against a disjointed Atlanta Falcons team that was not all together, and a Broncos team that's just kind of broken. I want to see them go do it against a real opponent. That offense isn't going to be good enough to beat good teams. Again, I keep talking about this with the Browns and the Bears as well. They're in a very similar situation. The Steelers are at 22. At 21, the Las Vegas Raiders. And you might say that's a little low for them. They just beat the Ravens. They're up 7 spots after beating the Ravens. Their offense looked really good. They really did. I was very impressed by that. The defense did a good job against a weak Ravens offensive line. Gardner Minshew leads the league in completion percentage, in completions. He's up there in yards as well. That offense with him at the helm is going to be scrappy, and they're going to be able to pull out these tight games. The Raiders are a dangerous team. Don't let them stay in the game, but if you stop their pass rush even a little bit, they're not going to be able to really stop you that much. And I think this is more a referendum on the Ravens, honestly, than it is on a team like the Raiders. I like the Raiders. They're not the answer. At 20, we have the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons coming off a huge win on Monday Night Football. We just talked all about it. You can hear my thoughts in the first segment, but Kirk Cousins looked amazing. Kirk Cousins looked like he was back to pre-Achilles injury, and that's all you can hope for in your quarterback that you just paid over $100 million to. He was moving around the pocket. Play action was working. He looked comfortable back there, especially on that 2-minute drill. That's what you want to see out of Kirk Cousins, out of the Falcons. This is a team that could make some noise if they could fix their tackling. They're in a very good division, but I'm not going to overreact to this win because I think the Eagles lost it rather than the Falcons winning it. At 19, it's the Rams, and this is just unfortunate. Injuries, right? They lose both of their top receivers. They lose 4 offensive linemen. This is not a team that is going to be good with the injuries they sustained. They need to get healthy if they want any chance of making a run, because this is a good team. It is a very good team. The Rams sit at 19 due to injuries, though. At 18, it's the Indianapolis Colts. You can do a little victory lap around me. I was going all on my high horse about Anthony Richardson and the Colts. He is still inaccurate. He still throws too many interceptions, too many bad balls. This is still a very good Colts team, though. They were able to adjust and slow down the run, although that's all the Packers were able to do. If they cut down on the turnovers, they win this game. If they cut down on the turnovers, they're 1-1, and we're having a much different conversation today. Anthony Richardson is a boom or bust kind of guy, and he needs to get more consistent. It's the same issues he's had in college, in the NFL, in his first couple games, but for all intensive purposes, he is a rookie quarterback this year. He only started 4 games last year and barely finished any of them. I think he had a total of like two whole games of game time, if you take a look at it. So this is basically a rookie season for him. And as far as a rookie goes, he is way above everybody else. Colts sit at 18. And at 17, the Los Angeles Chargers, a team I was a little low on. They come out, they know their identity. They're going to run the ball down your throat. I can't move them up too far, but combining their wins against the Raiders, who get a good win against the Ravens today. Combining their win against the Panthers, where they just run the ball down their throats. Quentin Johnson has 2 touchdowns. Jim Harbaugh knows how to win football games. Jim Harbaugh has built an identity on this team already. I thought it would take a bit to get there. I still need to see them go up against a good defense. Until then, I can't move them into the top 10, but they're going to face a test coming up soon. Their next matchup is against the Steelers. If they can do that again, if they can do what they've been doing these first 2 weeks against the Steelers, they might be in the top 10. But let me know what you think of this first half of the NFL Power Rankings. When we come back, we're going to finish up the Power Rankings, get through teams 16-1. So stick around for that. We'll be right back here on Sports by GSMC Podcast Network.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube, absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube.
Welcome back to Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jeremy Lapidus. If you are just tuning in, we just finished going over the first half of the NFL Power Rankings list. In this segment, we are going to finish it off. Teams 16-1, the top half of the NFL after 2 weeks. But before we do, Remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Leave a tip or donation with a message in it. That message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. Or if you are on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. Again, if you have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go ahead and throw that in the comments. Go throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Tuesday, September 17th. But like I was saying, we are going to finish up our NFL power rankings here. At number 16 on the list, we have the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings all the way up from number 22 last week, up 6 spots to that number 16 hole. They take down the San Francisco 49ers, a huge win for this team. Sam Darnold looks incredible. Not too much more to say. Brian Flores and Kevin O'Connell are now 2-0 against the Vikings, against the 49ers. The 49ers always seem to struggle against the Vikings. I like this Vikings team a lot. I still don't trust Sam Darnold. I'm a little cautious to move them up, but that was a very, very impressive win from the Vikings. I might be a little too low on them here. At number 15, it's the New York Jets. The Jets scrape by the Tennessee Titans with a win. Aaron Rodgers throws for 2 touchdowns. Braylon Allen, Breece Hall both get involved. Garrett Wilson is not as involved in the offense as I would have thought, but they're winning games. That defense is a little concerning to me, though. They lose Jermaine Johnson for the season. They still don't have much of the pass rush. That run defense is kind of abysmal. It has not been the same kind of Jets defense that we were used to seeing last year. The Jets need to find a way to pick it up, and the Jets need their defense to, they don't need to be the best, but they need to at least be half as good as they were last season if they want to compete in a tight AFC this year. The Jets are my number 15 team. At 14, the Green Bay Packers. And shout out to Malik Willis for getting a win. Shout out to that Green Bay Packers defense for forcing a whole bunch of turnovers, keeping them in this game. Malik Willis did what he needed to do. He didn't put the ball in harm's way that often. Malik Willis is not a quarterback that I want a team to rely on, but the Packers has proved that if you have a strong enough run game, he can do the minimum. He's elusive. He avoided sacks. He did what he needed to do. He didn't make too many negative plays, and that's why the Packers won this game. Once they get Jordan Love back, this is a team that will be dangerous in the NFC. The Packers sit at 14. At 13, it's the Miami Dolphins, and maybe that's a little too high for them after putting Tua on IR. But if you take a look at that game against the Bills, they were moving the ball just as well with Skylar Thompson. I think Skylar Thompson, who has come in and played games for the Dolphins in the past, played a playoff game for the Dolphins in the past, almost beat the Bills in the playoffs. This is a guy that can run this offense solidly enough. This is a guy that can make those quick time throws like they were having Tua do. This is a guy that can still make all the throws you want. He might even have a stronger arm. They also bring in Tyler Huntley, Snoop Huntley from the Ravens practice squad, made the Pro Bowl one time. Not that that one really counts. It was like the 6th alternate there, but he still made a Pro Bowl. That's on his resume forever. Snoop Huntley is a guy that has, again, started a playoff game, almost won a playoff game, probably should have won a playoff game. I think that ball did cross the line against the Bengals. But this Miami Dolphins quarterback situation isn't as dire as people think it is. I think it's a combination of Skylar Thompson and Snoop Huntley and the offensive weapons they have around them can still be a great team in the AFC. At number 12, we have the Arizona Cardinals, and that offensive engine just goes, putting up over 30 points yet again, absolutely destroying the Rams, a team that they have famously struggled against. Marvin Harrison Jr., 4 for 130 and 2 touchdowns in just the first quarter. It's a little concerning he didn't touch the ball after that, but still, they get the job done. The Arizona Cardinals look like a dangerous offensive machine. Comes against a completely dinged up Los Angeles Rams team, but There's a lot of good. There's a lot of stuff to look at from the Cardinals team and say, hey, that defense played better than last week. They were able to shut down the Rams on many occasions. Matthew Stafford is still a good quarterback, even if he's got no one to throw it to. I was very impressed by the Cardinals. They're all the way up to number 12, up 5 spots from last week. At number 11, the Dallas Cowboys. They get demolished. Give up 44 points to the New Orleans Saints, a team that has been very, very surprising this year, especially offensively. But that Cowboys defense just got exposed. They should be able to stop a team like the Saints. They should be able to stop most teams with their defense. The Saints got them on motions. They got them on chips on Micah Parsons. The Saints the Cowboys weren't able to get pressure on Derek Carr, and Derek Carr had all the time he needed in the pocket. They were able to run the ball all through the Cowboys, which was a little bit of an issue for the Cowboys in week 1 against the Browns. Wasn't a big enough issue to really bring up, but the Cowboys defense, if they're going to play like this Cowboys offense, when you can just target CeeDee Lamb, there's no one else really for them to get. Zeke Elliott isn't big enough of a threat coming out of the backfield. Neither is Dalvin Cook. Neither is Rico Dowdle. These running backs aren't going to scare you. They're going to be able to play that too high all the time, not worry about the run game. This is not a good situation for the Cowboys to be in. I think people overreacted to that win last week over the Browns. Getting into the top 10, we have an 0-2 team, the Baltimore Ravens. And you can come at me all you like. But if you look at the teams that are behind them, the Ravens are flat out a better team than the Cowboys. They need to start to get back to running the ball. But that offensive line, while it is concerning, it is getting better. They went up against 2 of the best pass rushers in the league in the first 2 weeks of the season. That is great experience for these young offensive linemen. They got better against the Raiders. Against the Raiders. They weren't the best, but they got better. Lamar Jackson is still a great quarterback. We got to see more on the ground from Derrick Henry, and he was effective. Feed him more. John Harbaugh needs to learn from his brother. We talked about it yesterday. If the Baltimore Ravens turn into a pure run-the-ball team, I think they can dominate just about anybody. They also blew a lead there. It's kind of unacceptable. But at number 9, the Cincinnati Bengals. Another 0-2 team, but they just put up a huge fight against the Kansas City Chiefs. Only losing by 1 point. You can blame the refs all you want. It was pass interference. They lost that game fair and square, but they put up a big fight without one of their best weapons at receiver. Joe Burrow looked much better than he did in week 1. They always start slow, but usually it takes a couple of weeks. If they can play like that against just about any other team, they're going to win. The tight ends got involved. I loved getting all 3 tight ends involved in the offense. Iosivas got 2 touchdowns in that game, right? He's going to be a nice slot receiver, a nice red zone option. Joe Burrow looked comfortable against the Chiefs. This is what we want to see. That defense stepped up a couple times, got a couple interceptions off Mahomes. Not something he's usually prone to doing. The Bengals team looked really good. They're up 1 spot to number 9. At number 8, the Philadelphia Eagles. Last week, they blow a lead. That 2-minute defense was disgusting. It was deplorable. It was awful. All of those words. But they played a really good game otherwise. The run game was going. Saquon is going to be a problem on this team. Jalen Hurts with his legs, his arms. They didn't have A.J. Brown, and yet they were still able to move the ball effectively up and down the field. I was very impressed by this team. They just blew it at the end. I'm not going to punish them too harshly for that. At number 7, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Kind of crazy the Bucs are up this high, but Baker Mayfield has been playing like one of the best quarterbacks in all of football right now. Baker Mayfield has been winning football games. That offense, that defense really stepped up against a tough Lions team. They gave up over 300 yards passing, but it wasn't like a good-looking 300 yards passing. They were able to hold a really good Lions rushing attack down. Vita Vea is a huge part of that. I really, really like this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. That offense is built to have those big plays when you let them have it, and they're just dinking and dunking their way. This is a good Bucs team. That whole NFC South is going to be a problem. At number 6, the Buffalo Bills. They destroyed the Dolphins on Thursday Night Football. That wasn't a story because of Tua, but they destroyed the Dolphins on Monday night and Thursday Night Football. Josh Allen is a real MVP candidate. When you get your running backs involved, which is what we've been waiting for Buffalo to do for all of the Josh Allen era, you see James Cook score 3 touchdowns, take some of the pressure off Josh Allen. He doesn't have to do everything. He's a guy that can do everything, but he doesn't have to. He's not going to be at the bigger risk to get hurt if you have a running back like that. And the wide receiver by committee thing is working for them. They don't need that number one. Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir, their tight ends are really stepping up and being those weapons that Josh Allen can find in the passing game. The Bills' defense really stepped up. I was a little concerned about how it would look this season, but Von Miller came back. He's still doing his thing. Losing Matt Milano would usually hurt, but they get a leader back in Von Miller who can step in and run that defense like Milano was doing before. That is why I think they're doing as good as they are. That defense is very impressive to me. The Bills are here at 6. At number 5, the New Orleans Saints. The Saints have the best offense in football. Derek Carr has scored on all 15 drives he has touched the ball. All 15 of them. They're 15 for 15 on scoring. They've scored over 30 points in the first half in both of these games. The first one was against the Panthers. This one against the Cowboys. They're up 15 spots to number 5. I was very impressed by the Saints' offense this week. Alvin Kamara scores a whole bunch of touchdowns. This is going to be a very tough Saints team if their offense continues to click like this. They get another tough test against the Eagles this week. They're already in the top 5, though. They're one of the best teams in the whole NFC. At number 4, the Detroit Lions. I know they lose, shaking off some rust, but the Lions are a sleeping giant, and you don't want to wake them. The 49ers lose to the Vikings yet again. It's time to hit the panic button. No, it's not. They lost to the Vikings last time. This is a very, very good. They can. Brandon Ayuk just signed a big contract for a reason. They will be okay. Juwan Johnson is a guy I really like. That defense will step up. That defense will get it done. You're not going to go up against Justin Jefferson every single day. It's a very good San Francisco 49ers team. It's a very good Vikings team. The Niners sit at 3. At number 2, the Houston Texans. Up 3 spots from number 5 last week. I am so impressed by this Texans team. We all know C.J. Stroud is going to be great. We all know they brought in new weapons. Joe Mixon looks awesome against a very good Bears defense. C.J. Stroud does not make mistakes. That is the biggest thing. Nico Collins is a beast. He's a monster. We were trying to figure out what the wide receiver split would look like now that they added Stephon Diggs. Just Nico Collins. Nico Collins is number 1. He is a huge physical receiver, and he is just going to out-physical all of these corners. The Bears have very physical corners, too. This is not an easy team to out-physical. That Bears defense put up a valiant effort. The Texans are just too good on offense, though. They're up to number 2. And at number 1, to the shock of all, surprise of all, the Kansas City Chiefs sit at the top. The Kansas City Chiefs, yet again, win another nail-biter of a game. Their defense steps up, scoring a fumble 6. Not something we see too often. Strips touch from the refs. Drastic. It was a real pass interference. That's just how it goes. The Chiefs are a very good team. When they get calls like that, it's going to be more blatant, more obvious because they're a very good team. Sorry to break it to you guys, but the Chiefs are very good at football. The Chiefs are the number 1 team in the NFL until someone finds a way to slow them down, and I don't see that happening anytime soon. They just faced 2 of their toughest tests of the entire season in the Ravens and the Bengals, and they were able to get by both of them, albeit by a toe, by a hair, but they were still able to get by both of them. They are actively, on my opinion, on 17-0 watch. Keep an eye out for that. This is going to be a tough Chiefs team to take down. But let me know what you thought of these power rankings. Any team I had way too low, any team I had way too high, I'd love to hear your thoughts. We're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, we're going to transition to the other list we have prepared, the NCAA Top 25. So stick around for that. We'll be right back here on Sports by GSMC Podcast Network.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Welcome back to Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Tuesday, September 17th. If you are just tuning in, we've just gone through the entirety of the NFL power rankings. The Chiefs at number 1 yet again, undefeated, unmoving at the top. They've been there the whole time. In this segment, though, we are going to take a look at college football. It was yet another crazy weekend. We've got some movement around the top of the standings. We're going to take a look at the top 25 here in just a second. But before we do, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you are on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Tuesday, September 17th. But like I was saying, we are going to get into the NCAA Top 25. But before we do, we're going to start off with our little mini segment here, the Group of 5 Top 5, or as I like to call it, the G5T5. As you can see right here, we've got a list of the 5 Group of 5 teams that I think are fighting for that 12th spot in the NCAA 12-team college football playoffs, something that I really do love about this year. So at number 5, we have a brand new addition to the G5T5, Washington State. Coming off of a huge rivalry win versus Washington, if they run the table here, there is a shot that they get that bid. They take on Boise State in Boise State. If they're able to win that game, they shoot right up the rankings, maybe even to the top. At number 4, Northern Illinois. They're coming off of a bye. They're down 1 spot. Memphis had a big win this week. They're down 1 spot to number 4 after taking down Notre Dame, who just puts up 66 points this week. Incredibly impressive from a unit that I thought was broken. Now, it wasn't against a great team, but Northern Illinois, number 4. At number 3, we have Memphis. They take down Florida State. Florida State falls to 0-3. They are under hits for wins for the first team to have that happen in all of the FBS. Kind of crazy. They started at a number 10 in the whole nation. They're now 0-3, losing to 3 unranked teams. The first time that's ever happened in the history of college football. At number 2, UNLV, another big win for them this last week, coming over Kansas. Team that was just ranked before losing to Illinois. Kansas turned the ball too many times. They turned it over way too much, like we were saying on Friday. UNLV takes advantage, gets a tight win, and Boise State on a bye still holds on to that number 1 spot. Going toe-to-toe against Oregon, a team that put it all together this week. They looked really impressive. Boise State continues to be that number 1 team for me in the Group of 5. But getting to the rest of the list, the NCAA Top 25. It's been a bit. I put together my list. It's been 1 week. We'll see how different it is. At number 25, we have Illinois. The Illinois Fighting Illini stay at 25. Another big win for them. If they continue to win games, there's no reason to drop them. Illinois is a very, very good team. Illinois won a couple of tight games. Their defense is for real, and that's what's keeping them up here in the rankings. If their offense can get going a little bit, they might have a shot to surprise some people in the Big Ten. Not saying they're going to make it, but they've got a little bit of a shot there. Before we continue, we see the number 25 team. There's a couple of teams that I have just missing it. That includes all 5 of that group of 5. Top 5 we just talked about with Washington State, Northern Illinois, Memphis, and UNLV. And of course, Boston College coming off of a tight game against a top 10 ranked team in Mizzou, and Indiana putting up a lot of points against UCLA. It's going to be a good team over there. The Big Ten's got some depth this year. I'm not sure if it's playoff depth, but it's definitely some solid teams. Good resume builder for the top tier of the Big Ten. At number 24, the Boise State Broncos. They stay in our list again at number 24. Still off a bye week again. I'm very impressed with Ashton Genty and this team. There's no reason to lower them. This is a very, very good Boise State team. They can't lose another game, though. At 23, Nebraska. Nebraska just continues to play good football, right? Nebraska with Dylan Raiola is a very, very good team. Again, there's no reason to drop these teams any lower. 22 goes Clemson. Clemson also on a bye, but they put up 66 points the last time we saw them play. They're a very good team. They just played Georgia in their first loss. They stay in the top 25. Syracuse also on a bye. There were a lot of byes this week, so it's going to be a little bit of a weird kind of ranking here, so feel free to disagree with me, but Syracuse is a team I think very highly of. I think they could compete for that ACC title. At number 20, Iowa State. Iowa State coming off of a big win, big rivalry win. They move up a spot, they stay, I apologize. They're still here at number 20. They stay here at number 20. They're up a spot from where they were in the AP poll, but in my poll, they stay here at number 20. They just continue to play good football. Here we go at number 19, the first new addition, the first change. Notre Dame is back into the top 25. Notre Dame, after losing a tight game to Northern Illinois, comes back with a vengeance, with a fire, puts up 66 points. That running game goes crazy. Riley Leonard runs an efficient offense there. If that offense can go, this defense is good enough to make a push. That loss to Northern Illinois is going to make it really tough for them to make the playoffs, though. At 18, the Michigan Wolverines. They put up some points against an inferior opponent. They throw 5 interceptions, though. 5 interceptions. It's not it against Arkansas State. They need to play better. They're still here, though, because there's kind of a jumble behind them of teams that had buys and teams that I'm not fully ready to buy into yet. At 17 is LSU. I have them dropping a couple of spots. They should have lost that game to South Carolina. South Carolina should have won that game. They lose their starting quarterback in Sellers, and the refs hand them a win. LSU throws a back-breaking interception. Penalty flag when the quarterback tries to make a tackle, gets blocked to the ground. That's a ridiculous call. There was a bunch of calls late in this game that LSU really, really benefited from. They should have lost this game. LSU was down to 17. At 16 is Louisville. They just keep on winning. They keep on climbing. Another one of these teams that I think is right behind Miami in the ACC and could make some noise. The Louisville Cardinals are up to 16. At 15 is the Oklahoma Sooners. The Oklahoma Sooners are a very good football team. They go up against a good Tulane team, a team that I was very impressed with, taking Kansas State all the way to the last play, basically, of the game. Oklahoma dominates, especially in that first half. They get a huge win against a really good Group of 5 team in Tulane. At 14, Oklahoma State. What can I say? Alan Bowman does his job. Ollie Gordon has been a little bit disappointing this season, but that offense is going. Again, after a little bit of a scare last week, they seemingly put it all together, got it figured out. Alan Bowman throws for about 400 yards in this game. If that's how they're going to win a game, that's how they're going to win a game. You still have Ollie Gordon over there, so if you can throw it too, that makes you a very tough team to go up against. At 13 is Penn State, and I know they were on a bye. I know I'm punishing them a little bit, but there were a couple of teams that I thought deserved to move up in the rankings. They're down 2 spots just outside of that top 12. Drew Aller and the offense looked a little bit concerning against Bowling Green. That defense looked more concerning, but I need to see them bounce back. They're still up there. They still found a way to win, but that's a tough way to head into a bye against Bowling Green. At number 12 is Utah. Utah doesn't have their quarterback. They won a game without Cam Rising. They need Cam Rising back now. This is a team that has true playoff contention, true Big 12 title hopes if they get their quarterback. That offense is not good enough without him. They almost lose this game. They were way too close for way too long against an inferior opponent. Utah needs their quarterback back if they want to make any kind of noise and stay in the top 12. At 11, we get Kansas State. I was very impressed with them. I liked Arizona a lot, but Kansas State just dismantled them. I was a little down on Kansas State after what happened against Tulane, a game that they should have lost, in my opinion. But they go out and they dominate a really good Arizona team. An Arizona team that's defense needs some work, but special teams made a huge difference in this game. Offense, they weren't able to, Arizona wasn't able to stop them. Their defense stepped up a couple times, picked off Noah 5 feet and made a couple of big plays. Can't really slow down T-Mac, but that's a tough ask for anybody to do. Kansas State up to number 11. At number 10, the USC Trojans. The Trojans are a team I'm a little concerned about, but they're still very clearly a top 10 team. Wins over LSU, and then they just keep taking care of business after that. They sit at number 10. At number 9 is Oregon. They move up a bunch of spots, and that is because they figured it out. Dylan Gabriel, I thought, was not going to throw an incompletion all game. He's very, very efficient all game long. The Ducks, when their offense is working, is a very, very fun offense to watch. Their defense is a little scary. Their run defense is terrifying. It's not good. It's very bad. If they start losing, if they aren't pulling ahead early, if their offense sputters a little bit, especially against Texas, against Ohio State, against some of these teams that can really run the ball, they might be in a little bit of trouble. At number 8, Mizzou. Mizzou gets a big win over 24-ranked Boston College. It's a little tighter than I would have thought, a little tighter than I would have hoped. Maybe everyone was a little too high on them to begin. They're down 2 spots to number 8. Still a very good team, though. I want to see their offense and defense step up a little more against good competition, because if they head into the SEC play like that, they're going to get destroyed. At number 7, we have Tennessee. Onside kick up 30 is kind of disgusting. They did it anyway. It works out. Tennessee's a very good team. Keep on playing like that. That's the energy you need to go up against the SEC. Pedal to the gas. Don't give up. Don't go into prevent like the Eagles did. The Tennessee Volunteers are at number 7. At number 6, we have Miami. Cam Ward looking like one of the Heisman favorites. The Hurricanes are a scary-looking team. Almost put them into the top 5. I could not put them over a couple of these teams, though. Miami, it just continues to move up every week. I love this Miami Hurricanes team. They're a serious national title threat. At number 5 is Alabama. Destroys Wisconsin this week. In Wisconsin, they look really good. They bounced back from a tough game against USF. All the questions were answered. That offense goes. That defense is awesome. Alabama is back. They're going to be some trouble. At number 4 is Ole Miss. And I thought about flip-flopping, but Ole Miss still plays a great game. They beat the teams they're supposed to beat. They still haven't given up a touchdown. They're just really good. Ole Miss is just really, really good at football. And if that defense can keep playing like this, they might be able to take a trip to the SEC championship game. And number 3 is Ohio State. They stay put there. Ohio State, again, they haven't really played anybody yet, but they just keep winning, and that's all you can ask them to do. Keep winning. Eventually, you'll get your chance to show that you belong with the big boys or are better than some of the big boys. And at number 2, we have a swap. Georgia falls 1 spot after a tight game against Kentucky, winning 13-12. That is not a very Georgia-like performance. We've seen their offense be kind of bad the last couple of early in this season. First half against Clemson was bad. Really, both of the halves of this game were kind of bad, only putting up 13 points. Their defense does its thing, as always, but that's scary. Kentucky was a little cowardly on offense, that if they pushed the pedal down a little more, you're looking at one of the bigger upsets of the whole season. Georgia needs to play better than that. I'm sure they will, but it's a little scary there. And at number 1, we have Texas. Quinn Ewers goes down. Arch Manning comes in. What does he do? Not much. Just 5 touchdowns on like 16 throws, including a 67-yard rushing touchdown. This is going to be a good team. Quinn Ewers is still the better quarterback. There's questions about whether Arch Manning should be starting. No, that's ridiculous. Let Quinn Ewers start. Quinn Ewers is one of the best quarterbacks in the nation, and Arch Manning looks like he could be one of the best quarterbacks in the nation, but this is Quinn Ewers' team. We don't need to have that discussion. Let him finish out the year, and then you have your backup plan in Arch Manning ready to go next season when Quinn Ewers goes pro. Should be a lot of fun, the Texas Longhorns this year. At least you know you have a backup plan if anything happens. But let me know what you think of my college football top 25. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Any team I'm way too low on, any team I'm way too high on, any team that I didn't put in the top 25 that you think should have been in there, I'd love to hear your thoughts. But thank you, everybody, so much for tuning into today's episode of Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. I have been your host, Jeremy Lapidus. We'll be back here same time, same place, covering all of the biggest news around the world of sports tomorrow. I hope you'll tune in then. Until then, I'll see you. You guys have a good one. Bye-bye.
Let's go. I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn.